Alright, hey guys, so today for this speech I'm going to teach y'all how to make homemade biscuits, and it's actually not that hard, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wash our hands. So I'm going to go to the sink over here because nobody likes cooking with dirty hands. So we're going to wash our hands with a little bit of soap, some warm water, 20 seconds, 20-30 seconds. So just make sure they're good and clean, especially with the coronavirus, because nobody wants the coronavirus. Alright, next things next, we're gonna preheat our oven to 475, so we will not take these biscuits long to cook it all. So all you're gonna do is just make sure your oven's on 475 because it's gonna help us to get that golden crispy on the bottom and those nice fluffy biscuits, because that's what we're looking for. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Next things next. Alright, so we use self-rising flour for these biscuits because self-rising flour helps to achieve the fluffiness and the thickness of the biscuit. You don't want a thin biscuit because it's just not good. So we're going to use self-rising flour for that. Not only are we going to do that, we're going to use Crisco. I buy any Crisco that's cheapest. So either Crisco or you can buy the Kroger brand like I've got here. And it's just shortening basically, but that's going to help you to achieve the fluffiness, and that's going to get you a good, nice, soft texture, because if you don't have that soft texture, it's going to taste very dry. Nobody likes a dry biscuit. All right, so now third ingredient is just plain old buttermilk. Kroger brand, Ingles brand, Walmart brand, whatever works for you works for me. All right, so buttermilk, it's going to give it that salty kind of, not salty, but it will give it a good flavor to the biscuit, so it won't taste like it's not something I would serve to my guests. These biscuits this is about, I'd say probably a 70, 80-year-old recipe. My great-grandmother started making these, and when she started making these, then my grandmother learned and my grandmother taught me. So we're going to start off with the self-rising flour. So we're going to do 4 cups of self-rising flour, right? If you want to cook for a shorter group of people, then you're more than welcome to do just 2 cups and just half the recipe. So there's 1 cup of flour. Make sure that when you get your flour out of your bag, it's nice and flat on the surface. You don't want excess flour, because baking, many bakers that are very popular over Food Network have discovered that biscuits, well, not just biscuits, but baking period, whether you're baking cornbread, cake, muffins, whatever, it's very important to know your measurements, especially if you got too much flour and then not enough milk, or too much flour, not enough eggs, or whatever you have, it won't turn out right. So that's why measurements are very important in the making of biscuits, or in just baking period. All right, so in a clear bowl here, I've got my 4 cups of self-rising flour. So next things next, we're gonna do vegetable shortening. Now, I don't use a measurement for the Crisco or your shortening. I take a spoon, just like this, your average everyday spoon, see? And all you're gonna do, get you some out, just like that. Make an egg. See that? Kind of resembles an egg. So you're gonna do, so if you're doing 2 cups of flour, you do 2 eggs. If you're doing 2 eggs of Crisco. If you're doing 4 cups of flour, you're gonna do 4 things of Crisco. So for this recipe, so I've got 4 cups of flour in here, so we're gonna do 4 eggs worth of Crisco, right? Okay, that's 3. And like I said, the only thing this is going to do is it's just going to help it to become more fluffy, much more of a fluffy, tender biscuit. I mean, tender in baking is not like tender when you're grilling. Tender in baking means it's not dry, it's not cracked, it's not like, it doesn't taste burnt, it means it tastes normal, right? So there we go. And we're going to save this for later, because as you see here, I've got this pan I always use, and I always grease the pan with a little bit of Crisco, because Crisco helps create that real golden color on the bottom, that real crispiness, and that's what we want. That's what we're looking for here. Next, this is called a pastry cutter. You see the lines here, it was developed by old English people for whenever you're baking, such as pie crust or something, and you're incorporating. These lines right here help all that ingredients to it helps them to remain, or it helps to combine all of them. And so basically it helps to cut the shortening into the flour, making the Crisco be able to distribute throughout the flour evenly, right? So that's what we're looking for here. So we're just gonna mash it. You don't wanna mash it too hard, just make sure you get it nice and good. So that way, whenever your biscuits it'll get all of it. And if it gets stuck, that's okay. Just make sure you take your fingers and rub them through those lines right there so it gets all that Crisco incorporated. Because we don't want chunks of Crisco, because you know what that's gonna do. Chunks of Crisco will do nothing good for you except for it's going to make your biscuits like, you're gonna have large chunks of Crisco in there, and it's gonna taste like greasy. So you don't want that. We just want it to distribute evenly throughout this flour, because if it distributes evenly throughout the flour, we're gonna have a good biscuit. And I'm telling y'all, this recipe is old. It is very proven. And most people who make biscuits make these. I've been known to make some pretty good biscuits. I cook them a lot in my house. I make them a lot for people that I know. And I wouldn't give y'all a recipe I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna just make sure that Crisco's in there nice and even, right? So as you can see here, we're getting a good bowl full. So this is the flour. Now, so we got all that. It's just about ready for buttermilk. We're just about ready. So, all we're gonna do here now, so I've got it nice and incorporated in there. So now let me show y'all what y'all are looking for, because I know y'all got some questions about, okay, well, I wanna know, does it need to be, completely like it's gone, or what am I looking for before I put the buttermilk in? So look at this right here. Can't kind of see, but you can kind of see. You see these? This little tiny balls, like little corn pieces? That is the Crisco. It is just like little tiny crumbs, and it's just, not crumbs, but like little corn cob kernels. And so that means that you don't want it too big, but don't make them too small. That's what you're looking for, because that right there is perfect. It's not too big, and it's going to combine great in those biscuits. Now I'm going to take my hands and I'm just going to do a little bit of this right here with them, because I don't want to get all that flour over me or over the sink and anything. So next is buttermilk, but for the buttermilk, I'm going to use a big spoon. All right. Most people like to use their hands, all right? I completely understand that, and I respect if you want to use your hands. If you want to get a little messy in the kitchen, so be it. Have your way. You do what you want. Do what's best fit for you. One thing about biscuits that anybody can tell you that knows how to make a biscuit: biscuits are never perfect. They are never perfect, and they will never be perfect. It is all to what you like. If you want a biscuit to be, say you want to use butter instead of Crisco. If it works, make it happen. I use Crisco. I've always used Crisco. It helps, and I promise you, it helps. And so I use a spoon just because when I mix this in, I don't want my hands to get real dirty, because my hands are going to get real dirty when I patty these good biscuits out, right? So we're going to get the milk here, and we're just going to kind of pour a little in, right? Don't pour all your milk in at one time, because if you pour all your milk in at one time, it'll create a ball that's too big to handle at once, and you're going to end up more with like a soup. Oh, there's our oven, so our temperature is ready to go. So now once I get this, so just like I said, a little at a time. And the milk, I'm going to tell y'all, people use measurements. I don't use measurements. I've been making them for a long time. So I just pour it in until it resembles a good ball, a solid ball that's just, you don't have much flour. You may have a little bit, but that's all right, because I'll show you what you can do with that. So we're just gonna take this and we're gonna keep mixing it in, just like this, real nice and just slow. Don't take too much time doing it. Just make sure you take your time. Take your time, because if you overwork, or if you go too fast, you're gonna overwork the dough, which will stress the dough, which won't create good biscuits. So all we're gonna do is I just take it like this, and I just move it around. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's an old recipe. I'm really glad I got to share this recipe with y'all, because I mean, it is important. I know most men know how to grill, which I do know how to grill as well, and I know how to fry, and it's good to bake, because it's just a good quality to have. So we're just gonna add a little bit of that in. Some people add eggs to their biscuits. Now, you can, and that will be more of a muffin biscuit, those are what my mom makes, and they're more of a muffin style. It's you just put them in a muffin tin and it makes a biscuit. So we're just gonna You see how it's starting to get there? It's starting to get a little more of a ball. We're getting there, so we're getting there slowly. See, and it's just time. You gotta have patience for all this, because if you don't have patience, then you won't have good biscuits. All right, so here we go. See, look at that. It's getting formed, which is a good sign. This is a good sign. You may have like 2 or 3 balls that are, you know, they're not all intact at once or at the beginning, but that's fine, because see, you got all that excess flour, or all that excess flour right there. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little more milk here. See, now with that excess flour, it's gonna stick with all these different sorts of balls in this dough, and then it's gonna create one big ball of dough, just like that. And this recipe does yield. Usually, yield in cooking means mix. So when you yield something, it means that you have some. There is just the number, the quantity you have. So this yields about 12 decent sized biscuits. And I do not put butter on them when they come out. Like I said, it's your choice, your biscuits. You do what you want. All right. So we got our ball. It's pretty intact, I would say. All right. So now we're gonna go back to our Crisco. First, let's put this milk in the fridge. I don't want that to go back. So next, we're gonna take our Crisco. Just take your hand, put a little bit of that Crisco on your hand, and just smear it. It doesn't have to be, you know, it can. Make sure when you make these, you get the outside of that edge too, that edge of that pan right there, because biscuits, whenever you put them on the edge right there, you know, you want to have something like you want to have like a butter or a Crisco on there, so it will help it to create that crust on the outside. So, you know, I typically do that, and so we're just gonna make sure it's nice and good to go and nice to roll. Like I said, just, you know, don't put too much on there. You don't want too much excess on there, because that would not make a good biscuit. It would be too greasy. So there we go. All right, that's that. So got our pan greased up. Now we're gonna take a paper towel just to wipe all that grease off my hands. Next thing is we're gonna take our flour. Just take a little bit, just like this, and put it on your hands, because if you don't, then the biscuit dough will stick to your hands, which is what we don't want. And just take you a little ball, and then you're just gonna kind of form a ball just like this. Shake all that excess flour off, stick it right there, and voila, one biscuit. Do the same thing. Just like that. Stick that biscuit on there. Voila, number 2. Take that a little bit off there. Now, you can make your biscuit however big you want to. If you got, you know, a big group you're trying to feed, you may want to stick with a little smaller biscuit, but whatever floats your boat. So, and now, biscuits. So whenever you do in the pan and you put them in the pan, you want to make sure they're touching the sides, because if they touch the sides, then that means their sides are going to get crispy together, which I will show you what the end result of that will look like when we pull them out the oven. So now we just gonna see, like, look at that. Now look. In that biscuit, you don't see any of those Crisco, big chunks of Crisco, and that's good. That's what you want to see. That biscuit, it looks good. See, you don't have many cracks hardly in there, which is what the buttermilk and the flour do and the Crisco do, to make sure that you're combined. That way you don't have any cracks, because if you have cracks, too many cracks, the biscuit tends to split, which is what you don't want. You want a biscuit that's got a pretty nice little top, pretty nice top. So just like that, we're gonna press it down. See, look at that. Beautiful. You can make your biscuit in any shape you want. You want heart biscuits, you make them. You want smiley face biscuits, you make them. These are yours to play with. You can do whatever you want to with them, whatever your heart desires. So we're gonna, okay now. And then once you get the hang of it, there should be no excuse to why you can't go a little faster. I mean, if you want to take your time, you take your time. If you're having fun, say you're making these with your grandma because your grandma doesn't know how to make biscuits, perfect. Take your time, because I seriously, strongly recommend you take in all those moments you can with your family, because they're important and you won't have them one day. So just take these, and you want to make them, and you know, if you're by yourself, then do whatever you want. But then you just it's a simple science, simple art. It's not hard. Once you can do it, you got it. So like, I'm making my biscuits a little bigger because I'm gonna send some over to my buddy's parents' house, and of course my parents will take some to work or something or whatnot. But and of course I'll have some for breakfast. But see, this one got them done. And then if you got a big flour mess from when you were making them, then okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it. You can always clean. What they make Clorox wipes for. All right. So I'm coming down to the end of my dough here, so I'm going to make sure I get all that dough in one ball, which may make one big biscuit, but that's fine. You're going to have that, and it's all right. All right, that's all my dough. And so, I mean, it didn't make 12 biscuits, but like I said, they are bigger biscuits. And that's what your end result's gonna look like. I mean, usually this pan can fit 12. I do them every Christmas morning because my family does like the biscuits on Christmas morning. I don't like to do much on Christmas morning. I just get up, drink my coffee, and make the biscuits. But it's not hard. Once you can understand it, then you got it. It's not, and it's something fun to just play around with. If you're bored, especially during quarantine, then do it. I suggest doing it because it takes your mind off things. It gets you interacting with your family, and in the end, you have some good food. So, I hope this recipe helps you, and glad I got to teach y'all about it.